Hi everyone, here is my assessment of the financial situation for the city of Bergstad, Glasgow, Sellafield. I have used three different financial ratios to provide this assessment. Firstly, I've considered the organisation's solvency, that is, their ability to pay off long-term liabilities and avoid bankruptcy, according to Van Helden and Hodges. Solvency is calculated by dividing equity by the sources of finances, in this case 20 divided by 75. Which equates to 0.26 recurring. This suggests that there are enough assets to cover the liabilities by a reasonable percentage. There is minimal change from the year previously with regards to solvency, which I would suggest is a positive outcome and shows some stability in the position over time. With regard to liquidity, that is dividing up current assets by short-term liabilities, or 25 by 20, the ratio is 1.25. Which shows a positive outcome as it shows that the current assets will cover the short-term liabilities quite easily. This is slightly reduced from the year before, but not substantially, the year before being 1.28. However, the cash in the bank account only covers 50% of current liabilities, with the majority of assets falling under accounts receivable. Some effort would be required to access these accounts receivable in a crisis. And this suggests that some improvement could be made with regard to getting accounts paid off faster. With regard to financial performance, that is dividing revenues by costs, or 38 by 40, the ratio is 0.95. This shows that revenues did not cover costs in the year 2014, which is somewhat concerning. However, this will be only a problem if it persists year on year, and currently the organisation has sufficient equity to cover this loss. It should also be noted that over 50% of the equity is restricted and may not be easily accessible in order to cover the debt. However, it does remain in the positive. Also of importance, it does appear that longer-term finance sources, that is equity plus long-term debts, is covering the longer-term assets amount, which suggests stability in the longer term with regards to borrowing. Van Helden and Hodges also make the point that true bankruptcy is unlikely within the public sector organisation, particularly one that has the support of high level, but it would be important to ensure that ongoing deficits does not become a pattern in the longer term. Obviously, we are unable to see all aspects of costs and revenues, or the political context. However, if we can consider the budget as it is appearing in front of us, it is clear that there were some higher than expected staffing costs, and not as much income came in as it expected. It appears that there was perhaps a planned or targeted reduction in staffing costs in this budget in order to attempt to control expenditure, and this was not as successful as anticipated and could be reviewed. It may be that the budget surplus was actually overestimated for political gains, particularly with regard to income. However, an overall reduction in deficit was achieved, which suggests that the financial position is improving, or at least measures are being considered to do so. It also appears that the cash flow deficit is largely due to investments and paying back debt, which in theory should also reduce interest costs in the long run, and it could potentially add to assets in the longer term, or add to the public value of the organisation, which is one of the goals of the public sector. Overall, I would state that the financial position of the city is pretty good, with solvency and liquidity positions being positive and quite stable. From the proposed budget, it appears that some steps are being considered to reduce the risk of ongoing deficit with regard to revenue, which again is a positive step and will ensure that equity is maintained. Some areas for improvement have been identified in this report, particularly around expenditure reduction activities, ensuring accounts are paid in the financial year if possible. Thank you.